Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and our Kings. We're here. It's Riyadh, Usyk Fury, the rematch. Been joined by former two-time world champion Joe Cordina. Joe, it's been a pleasure. I don't think I've interviewed you for a good while, since probably before the Shakur fight got announced. But first off, before we start going into all that, how's things? How you been keeping?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Just in the gym and just tossing about for a bit. So, yeah, I thought I'll come over, give some support to obviously a few of the boys that I know. Obviously Moses, gym mate, Reese Edwards, obviously good friend of mine, and obviously the big Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. So, yeah. And Ishmael Davis as well. So, yeah, good friend of mine.
A lot of stories on this card. I feel like obviously Reese has been presented with an opportunity, has grasped it with both hands, and look, it's there for him to do. But you know, how confident are you in your boy that he can do it? It's a tough task ahead. But look, Peter was preparing for Dennis, completely, you know, a different fighter.
Southpaw, he was preparing for a southpaw. Listen, and Peter's a good friend of mine also. I've known him for years through the Team GB. Yeah. By all means, this ain't an easy fight for Peter. It's a very hard fight. It's a 50-50 fight, if you ask me. I've sparred numerous rounds with Reese, and there's times where I've been deep in camp, fit as a fiddle, and I've just called him just off the cuff, on a random one. Can you? I'm not really fit, and he pisses 6 to 8 rounds. So
naturally fit then, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's just one of them geezers. But this ain't an easy fight for him. No. It's a hard fight for both, and he's one of them that he's more incapable of coming through.
Yeah. Look, we're gonna start with.
You okay? You right? Ready? Yeah. Good man.
Friends with everyone in the corner as well on Saturday night, so he's doing his bit as Joe. Let's talk about you before we talk about this main event. So, opportunity knocks. Shakur Stevenson, you grasp it with both hands, coming off the back of a Cacace defeat. You're ready to go. Fight goes off. He's now scheduled to fight Floyd Scofield. So, I want to know, surely the plan would have been to just reschedule that fight with yourself rather than go down that route. That's me outside looking in, don't know what's going on in the background. Was it ever discussed, and why has that not happened?
No, it wasn't discussed. I just thought it would have been the most sensible thing to just, get it back on. My purse was sorted, his purse was sorted. There's no negotiating and going back and forth like they were doing. It would have just been easier to just jump straight back in. But I've been told by a few that he just don't want the fight. Not saying he's scared, because no fighter is scared to fight. But I just don't think he wants to risk a big fight losing. I'll be honest with you, at this present moment, I ain't got my world titles, but I'm a two-time world champion. I've proven myself. It's still a risk for him. I can fight. Yeah. I can fight, I can box, I can do it all. Yeah. Now, you got Scofield, he's a good fighter, but he's not proven with experience, and I don't believe he's beat anyone worth talking about. So it's and then you got Shakur fighting him rather than a former two-time world champion. That would make for a big fight, and our names have been crossed paths prior to this. Yeah. When we was at Super Feather, he called me out, and I said no problem, let's do it. Yeah. But just let me have my rest, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, I just don't know why it would just wasn't rescheduled, but. Yeah, just don't know.
You both sort of got that. I feel there's more of a narrative there as well. You both come from like impressive stock in terms of your amateur careers. You know, it's a fight that can be sort of built. Like you mentioned, you're not coming in on short notice, like being dragged in, and you're someone with a pedigree. We're not happening in the last fight, but we also know that things happen in boxing for a reason. Time to move up in weight and do whatever. You know, it happens. It doesn't define your career. You lost the belts via, I think. I remember you were in Abu Dhabi and there was an injury and got stripped, whatever, won it back. And against tough people, they weren't vacant titles, so I was a bit surprised. What's currently your situation in terms of promotionally? Because I saw an interview I think you did about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and you mentioned that about not really much communication. Are you with Matchroom? Are you a free agent? What's your status?
I'm a free agent at this present moment. Free agent. I've sat down with Frank Smith and we had a lot of few things on the table. So yeah, at this present moment I'm a free agent and yeah, I'm just looking to get a fight lined up ASAP.
I take it you're doing all the sort of your due diligence in terms of now what your options are, because I suppose because maybe they don't have any obligations with yourself, maybe they're not obliged to, obviously they're not obliged to give you any fights, but are you surprised that maybe, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, have they not gone, look, let's get this extended, we've been with you from day one kind of thing, they've done a lot for you but you've done a lot for them, you've delivered on everything you said. Is there a bit of a surprise there that nothing's been sort of wrapped up and they've not jumped on it?
Yeah and no. I don't really want to revisit that sort of that scenario, but yeah, because like I said, if I do speak about it, I'll probably have Frank the Tank on my case. So yeah, I'll leave that. But at this present moment, I'm in a good place. I know where I'm at. I got good people around me. My advisor's one of the best in boxing, Spencer Brown. So I believe something will come in the next couple of weeks or in the next few days, maybe.
And look, you with Spencer Brown, he's got the connect to everyone. I mean, him alongside obviously Turkey Al, Sheikh Riyadh season, they're bringing everyone together, even people who hate each other and or did hate each other. And they're I'm sure you'll be in a good position. What's an ideal? What would you like ideally, say, the next 6 months in terms of a fight coming back, promotional deal with somebody inked? What would you like to happen to get you back on track now? Because this is like a new chapter for you.
Yeah, well, a promotional deal would be great, but it's got to make sense in the sense of where the direction they're going to put you down. Obviously, whether the fights are going to be, you're going to be paid well. Obviously, I'm a two-time world champion, so it's got to sort of match. The money's got to match. It's not about this is what you're going to get, but it just don't match the fight that it is. I know what certain fights are worth, and yeah. So unless you're in a promotional contract and everything matches up, then that's pointless. But if not, ideal scenario is maybe potentially get a sort of a warm-up fight. I'd love to fight for 3 world titles back to back next year, but it's not going to happen. So potentially get a warm-up fight, maybe a world title in the middle of the year, or a fight in maybe Malta or somewhere like that, because that's where I'm from. Because we have talked about him in Spence, but it would be great. But that's something that's still got to be worked out. Or a warm-up fight in the middle of the year, or a step up, and then potentially a world title back end of the year.
I was there for the Agawa fight, incredible atmosphere. You were sort of building, I feel like it was the start of something in Wales, and you were really like, right, not only world champion but statement performance where people look and go, yeah, we're going to come out again. And I don't feel like momentum's been lost, but I feel like it could have been maybe, I thought that was going to be sort of, you're going to be built out of there kind of thing and look, and then expanded. Are you a bit, I don't want to say frustrated or saddened, but you were kind of onto something with the home thing, weren't you?
I'll be honest with you, I was frustrated. I was a bit pissed off because I had knockout of the year, a fight with a knockout of the year for a world title, then got stripped, then won it back with a potentially fight of the year. One word you need to build a fighter. Like I said, when I brought Eddie down to go and see the Cardiff Arms Park, which holds between, I think, was 12 and 16,000, around about that. So we could have done one in the summer. Then I also brought him to the Cardiff Castle. We had a meeting there. But then they booked the Motor Point again, because the manager of the Motor Point rang me and said, it's been booked up for this date. And I was like, well, we just had a meeting in these two places. I was thinking, what's he doing? But then I just thought, like, why? I'd piss 10, 12,000 or whatever it was. I'd piss it. especially with another world title, especially after 2 fights like that back to back.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand why he wasn't putting anything into me, and the only thing I can put it down to is that there's no one coming behind me. There's no one he could have built behind me or anything like that. There's no other fighters from Wales.
I was going to say, I always look at it from a fighter's point of view, and I suppose in terms of a promoter, I never really think, not to look at it from theirs, because we always say, look, they're the ones with the money, they put it in, we shouldn't feel sorry for them, but they'll look and go, look, George's the star of this show, right, what are we doing with the rest of the show? How do we put on a show here where we, you know, make money and do this, and there's loads that go into it. I'm sure it's not that they didn't want to. I'd like to think that it was more a decision just based off maybe the money side of it. But in terms of you moving forward now, that'd be an option. But in terms of names, you had the poster made, you just didn't have the fight like that. I saw that fight get made and I thought, buzzing. It's a fight with 2 top tier fighters, and it'd be interesting to see what happens. So, who are the names now you want to share with the ring with? Apart from Shakur, I'm not asking you to call anyone out, but
do you know what? Obviously, we all aim for the world titles. So, any of the ones that got world titles, that's who I want to be in the ring with. I don't want to go back down to fighting fringe world level fighters, and I might have to have a warm up or whatever just to get back in the mix, but I don't really want to be doing that because I can't get up from. Like, for me, I want to be involved in the big fights, the big names, and that's where the best of me comes out. You understand? So, anyone that's got a world title, that's where I want to be heading back end of next year.
I've got to ask you about the main event just before we wrap this up. Usyk Fury. It's been an interesting fight week. The fight weeks I've been a part of for Tyson Fury in the past have been quite jovial. I haven't seen this sort of version of him and this ruthlessness in him, in his voice, and I quite like it from a fan perspective. It's difficult because you're probably not going to get tired with him because he's in that mode. But from an actual fight point of view, I quite like it. But it's going against a guy who's got like an encyclopedia for a boxing brain in that ring, and you know yourself, coming from the amateurs and the history of him. How do you see this fight playing out? Can you call it? And is there just too many variables to sort of take into account?
Listen, Usyk, he is what he is. He's for me top 5 pound for pound best fighters on the planet, and if not the top. It's between him and Terence Crawford for me. Mm-hmm. So you've got him. Fury can't approach this just willy nilly and try and fucking just fuck about. But I didn't think he fucked about last time, but I didn't think he'd be. He thought that Usyk wouldn't have been as difficult as he was.
Yeah.
So but this time I think he needs to use his strength, his size, his weight, everything that he's got over Usyk. Yeah. Like the punch variety, Fury's got it. Speed, he's probably not as fast as Usyk, or footwork might not be as good as Usyk's, but he's still got good footwork, he's still got good speed. But the major things that he's got over him is size, weight, strength. Mm-hmm. So I think he needs to add that into his game, but at the same time he can be he has to be smart with the pressure. He has to be smart, and I think if he gets close to him and he leans on him, he could break him down like he did to Wilder the second fight. So I believe Fury comes out this one on top.
Look, I can't wait. I've said this in many interviews, people are probably bored of it, but if it's all like the first fight, I think we're all in for a treat. Joe, it's good catching up with you. I want to see you back out. I think, no, you want to get back out as well, but I appreciate you giving us your time and road to another world title.
I appreciate you.